Control those emotions. You know, it happens with me, it happens with a lot of people that I talk to on my day-to-day basis. Most of us, it would almost seem like we're directing our lives through our thoughts, our logic, thinking, these are my next steps in life. But in reality, most of the people live their lives through how they're experiencing emotions. And so I just wanted to make this video here to talk to all of you guys who have had trouble maybe regulating those emotions, or even just understanding how to deal or cope with them. Especially as a man, I know that this is a very talked upon subject. People always tell you to be stoic, don't listen to your emotions. Alex Hormozi is like, emotions are irrelevant, it's all about action and result. I get that because that's part of the masculine essence. But now, at the same time, we do have emotions, even if you're a man, even if you're a woman. And one of the things that happens a lot is we are stuck on feeling the same emotions all of the time. And what happens is you start to get addicted to those emotions. Like, have you ever talked to somebody that you talk to them and they're always on a crisis, they're always on, things are never going right for them. Or even if they meet somebody, they'll meet toxic people, and that's the relationships that they'll be doing and making. So when that happens, those type of people, in my opinion, are pretty much addicted to the emotions that they're feeling. And so they create kind of a view of themselves as that's like the default way of me living my life, feeling these emotions of stress, of betrayal, of not being enough, of et cetera, whatever emotions can be. Me personally, I'm actually talking about this right now because it's something that is super relevant to me in the last few weeks, the last few months, to be honest with you, because I have so much things going on. There's so many projects, there's so many things that I have to deliver for. And at the same time, sometimes I'm like, damn, I need to give some space to myself and actually feel things. Because like many men, I'm just pretty much suppressing my emotions, and I'm just like, all right, cool, let's put a pause on this, let's execute on everything that we need to execute to get ahead. And I'm getting ahead very much, which is freaking amazing. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, what are my emotions telling me? And so I'm gonna unpack this as we go on the video, but so bear with me here, and you'll understand how it'll start making more sense. So emotions really are kind of like a map. It's really telling you how you're feeling in the moment. And the thing is that, for example, I've been just shutting them off myself, but the emotions are still there. So I'm taking actions with the emotions and I'm just ignoring them and suppressing them. And I'll give you a process that you can do so that you can actually start getting better managing these emotions and regulating them and everything. But one of the things that I actually wanted to mention is emotions are a map of how you are currently feeling. And so it's not to say oh man, I cannot follow that emotion, or oh, I cannot be a victim of that emotion. It's much more of if you're feeling some kind of way, be aware of what that emotion is trying to make you feel. And if you can make some action to amend that emotion, that's how you'll get done with that emotion. You'll actually have to process it. Otherwise, you'll just put it in the back of your head. And so this is another concept that I wanted to present to you guys that I've heard about. Heard it from T. Harv Eker, but it's also known in psychology. He had it in this book, Millionaire Mindset, or Millionaire, I forget the book, I'll put it in the link, but Mind of a Millionaire or something. I forget, to be honest with you. But the point is that how you relate to your emotions has a lot to do with how you even view them. So emotions are not just feelings and they're separate from your thoughts. They're actually all interconnected. So the cycle really is your thoughts will lead towards the emotions that you feel. And then the emotions that you feel will affect the actions that you take. And when the actions that you take start getting out there in the world, you'll start getting results. So it's thoughts turn into emotions, and your emotions turn into action. If you have a positive emotion and you do positive action, you'll probably get good results. You'll get good results. But if you have negative emotions and then you take negative actions, you will lead to negative results. Now, the thing is that thoughts can influence your emotions, and a lot of times that's what's going on in your day-to-day. And in my day-to-day, I'll have a thought, I'll have a text message, I'll have something, and people will want to suppress those emotions. And they're like, well, where are these emotions coming from? And they might be coming from your thoughts. But there's a step above your thoughts that actually affects your thoughts. And that step is beliefs. So the beliefs that you have about whatever it is, to begin with, about yourself. The beliefs that you have about yourself will dictate the thoughts that you actually have, which will dictate the emotions that you actually have, which will dictate the actions that you're currently taking, which will dictate the results that you're actually freaking getting. Now, this might mean nothing if you're kind of asleep, but if you're awake and you've done a little bit of self-work, you can look into yourself and reflect, because the beliefs are actually made of past experiences, past programming from our parents, verbal programming from other people, and then also just seeing other people how they act. You get influenced by that. All of those things throughout your mind. I'm 29 right now. All my 29 years of experiences have built the beliefs that I currently have. And those beliefs have created an identity. That identity is the one that has the thoughts. The beliefs, all the experiences that you've had before, whether they treated you good or they treated you bad, that will create a persona. Oh, people react good to me. Maybe I'm good looking. If you're a pretty girl, people will completely react different to you versus if you are somebody that's not so much good looking. You can see that in the world, right? And so what will happen in your head, it's like, oh, people treat me nice. I'm a nice looking person. This is what I expect of the world. And you live your world with that identity, with that persona. And so the thoughts that you're gonna have are gonna be related to that persona, that identity. And so I know that was a lot. The whole process is interesting. If you need to, go rewatch the other parts so that it can really sink in. It's not like this is just something that I came up with. It's a whole process that every human being can go through, and you can start changing and regulating your emotions. Now, you want to change your beliefs, right? Because your beliefs are the ones that dictate your thoughts, and the whole pattern goes, right? So how do you change your beliefs? Now, that's something that I'm still working on myself, right? I constantly have to do it. Every bracket of income that I've kind of grown to, I always have to kind of like look internally and almost like disintegrate my last identity and create this new identity that now I make 6 figures. Now I only work with clients that I like. Now, so I start creating those identities, and those thoughts arise in me, and I can start taking those actions, and my life reflects that. And so that's how I personally do it. There's a few ways that you can actually reprogram your beliefs. Tony Robbins talks about it. Everybody talks about it. Everybody has a say in it. But right now I'm just talking to you and me. And the things that I'm saying here are for them to be practical and not to be so woo-woo. Okay? So one of the ways, and most of the ways that people talk about reprogramming your beliefs, I use, and I will share with you 2 of them that I believe are helpful but are not the end-all be-all, and I will share with you one that I think is the most powerful one. So number 1 way to actually reprogram your beliefs is going to be by doing incantations. So incantations, affirmations, you constantly repeat something to yourself like, I am a millionaire. I make 6 figures. I do what I love in my life and people benefit from it. I help other people in the world, and that's how I make money. You can start doing all sorts of affirmations. The trick about affirmations, and I won't go so deep into it because there's so many videos about it, but the point of affirmations really is to come up with a quote or a thing that you want to say to yourself that really hits home. Most people are saying empty affirmations that you saw in a YouTube video, on a sleeping affirmation video, and you want to repeat them. That's cool, but only if you actually relate to them, only if they actually hit home. Once you get a certain feeling from that incantation, that affirmation, that's when it's going to start to rekindle the brain connection towards past emotions or past identities. For example, if you're having an affirmation of like, I am worthy and I attract high amounts of money towards me, and you keep saying that and that touches home, you'll actually start seeing that in the real world. And the thing is that you have to say it as it already happened, right? You can't think like, oh, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be this, I want to be that, and that's going to be your affirmation. You have to do them in a sense of they have already happened, and you have to feel the feeling already, okay? So affirmations is one, and we can go deeper into it, but that's just kind of affirmations in a nutshell. The other one that is very, very useful, and I use it all the time, is visualization. So you can visualize the feeling, you can visualize everything that your dream life. You know, I'm talking to a whole stadium of people, helping them out with their problems, helping them raise the level of consciousness, and I'm making money from this, and people are cheering and people are excited, and I look at my wife's and my girlfriend's eyes and she's lit up and she's super happy. My daughter is super proud of me, and I'm visualizing the life that I want, and I get those emotions and I feel them and I feel them and I feel them every single day. And that's how you start to reprogram your subconscious with visualization. That's one example of it. There's been many studies of athletes using visualization to improve their skills. So that's really a thing. So those two are very powerful, and people usually will talk about them, and those are, I think, some of the most popular ones. The people that want to get a little bit like deeper into things, they talk about this third step. The third step really is to you use the affirmations, you use the visualizations, use those two to kind of do all that work into yourself, right? But the missing link here is to start taking conscious action. Once you start taking conscious action on that life that you want to live, right, you're gonna have a lot of holdbacks. Like let's say you want to make 6 figures. You're making like 50,000, and you're visualizing and you're doing affirmations to get to that level. Now you felt the affirmations, you felt the visualizations. Now what are you gonna do? You have to take action on it. And how do you take action? You have to take conscious action. So maybe you're having a bunch of clients that are paying you $500 a month or $1,000 a month, and what you need to do now is pitch them $3,000. But you're so afraid because you've never gotten a check that is of that level. You know what I mean? Like you're expanding yourself. You're pushing yourself to ask or pitch at that level. And so the conscious action will then, with all that fear that you have in your heart, but with the belief that you already live the life that you want to live, you're gonna take the action and push yourself. Remember, you only grow from pushing yourself to your limits, because your expansion will reach whenever you actually reach your extremities. If you're pushing yourself, that's when you actually grow. Like it's almost like if you're blowing up a balloon and it's blowing and it's blowing and it's blowing, and then boom, it breaks, but you had another balloon that was attached to that balloon, or another balloon that was inside of that balloon, but it can expand higher. You will break the small balloon, but the balloon will keep growing, and only with expansion you will grow. So you have to keep pushing yourself through action. And so the thing about the action is the action is the thing that closes the loop. Everybody's in the visualization stage, everybody's in the affirmation stage, and they want to live on it on the rest of their lives. But the thing is that when you take that conscious action, your subconscious only understands emotions and only understands images. It doesn't understand words or logic. You can check that out in all of psychology, in Jungian psychology, Freudian psychology, anybody that you want to go into. That's the highest leverage that you can have on your subconscious. It's going to be images. So when you take action in the world, conscious action to change your life, then that's when your subconscious will start getting reprogrammed, because it's letting yourself know that you are now that person that's taking that different action, right? And that's how you actually start to influence your subconscious and influence your own identity, which in turn will have different thoughts, which in turn will lead you to different emotions. Now, how do you regulate emotions that are happening on your day-to-day? Now, most people do have emotional habits, and I'll give you an example. I was in a restaurant one day, and I wanted to ask something to one of the waitresses, and I asked, "Oh, hey, can I get help with this?" And she looked at me, and she was super mad at me. She's like, "Oh, I am not a waiter. I am not a waitress. I'm actually a manager. I'm sorry about that, but I cannot help you." And she was like mad, and she left. I'm like, okay, like that, because that was kind of, I wasn't planning on that. Like, I wasn't expecting that. And so I thought it was kind of funny because I realized that for her, that was an emotional habit that she has. Maybe she felt belittled. Maybe she felt offended. But just by me telling or confusing her with the waitress, she felt in the moment she acted, so she reacted to what I said. So it was like an emotional habit for her. And I bet you that she does that every time that somebody thinks she's a waitress, So it's an emotionally ingrained habit, and every time that happens to her, she'll keep acting the same way unless she adds consciousness to this. She becomes aware of this. She's like, oh damn, like I cannot be reacting like this to people. But that's an emotional habit, and that's what most people are living their lives in. They're living their lives in emotional habits that you have to break the cycle of. And I would want to give you so many freaking tools and ideas on how to deal with this, but in reality, it's almost like, for me at least, what has helped me, it's almost like black and white. You have to actually be conscious in the moment with when that trigger happens. When that trigger happens, when a trigger happens to you, that's when you actually stop and pause. And that's where you need to do the work, because the trigger will be a reflection of what you need to work on. So if you have a trigger, pause 3 seconds, just pause 3 seconds and try to change. Don't act towards that emotional habit. Change your action to react a certain different way. And what am I saying now? You're taking action differently. So what will happen? You will start to break that emotional habit that you have, because now you're taking the new action, which will lead your subconscious to reprogram itself so that you can be that new person. But if you take the same action as the emotional habit that you've had before, you're reinforcing in your head that you're going to be that same person, and you're going to keep reacting that way, and you're going to keep feeling the same emotions. That's the only way to break it. So it sounds super, almost like physical, almost like too practical, but that's the way to deal with the mind. The mind is a tool. And I'll give you an example. I was reading Jay Shetty's book, Think Like a Monk, just recently. I was rereading it. I was listening to the audiobook, and they had a practice where when he went to the monastery, one of their first tasks was to not have any judgment or ill thoughts about anything. Not even one in the whole day. And so what they wanted to do is, whenever you have one judgment, one bad thought throughout your whole 24 hours, you're going to have to write it down. And the point is to go many, many days with that number decreasing per day. So maybe if day 1 you had 10 and you had to write down 10 because you had 10 bad thoughts, 10 judgments of other people, you write down 10. Next day, you only have 5, so you write down 5. And you become almost like if you're doing a workout, but with your mind. And that's the type of self-work that one has to do to start changing their subconscious. The thing is, people are too lazy. People don't want to do the work. They can't even listen to this video. They don't have the attention span, man. Most people won't have the attention span to even listen a little bit or reflect. Most people are not in this level of consciousness, and I'm not saying I am, but they're not in the level of consciousness to even understand or want to do this work. But if this resonates with you, bro, take action on this and start looking at other aspects of your growth through this lens. And I promise you, things are going to change for you. Now, I gave you the whole process of how emotions are linked to your actions and your persona. Apply that to different areas of your life, okay? And start doing practical things like these, practical things that you can do day to day. So whenever you feel those triggers, pause, and then determine what action do you want to take. Do I want to be the same person that I was being, or do I want to or I want to take a different route and be a different type of person and get different results? So that's your choice. And I feel most people are stuck into this. I feel a lot of love for everybody that is stuck in their emotions. I have a lot of friends that I talk to that need a lot of help with this. if you resonated with this, leave a comment, say how you're gonna apply it. If you've listened to something similar, say how you know, drop it in there so that we can all learn from it. And that's it, man. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I can help you guys with, but I think let's wrap it up and start taking practical steps towards your self-growth. It's almost like going to the gym, but for your mind, your consciousness, your soul. And I promise you, your emotions are gonna change if you start taking different action and you start putting awareness towards your emotions. And not only you are gonna benefit, but the people around you are gonna benefit. And you can start helping other people regulate their own emotions. Because emotional regulation is the thing that holds most people back. Sometimes you will have an opportunity of a lifetime, man. You'll be offered $1 million, but you'll be so stressed and you're gonna have so much pressure and you have to perform that sometimes those emotions are not gonna let you perform. They're not gonna let you take that opportunity. The emotions will hold you back from who you really need to be. And so the emotions are a map and they tell you where you're at and they show you what you need to work on. You cannot suppress them. Just practically try to integrate them and take different actions so that you can start getting different emotions. That's it for me, guys. I was having a mate today. I'm having pipore mate. And that's it. Hot sunny day. Enjoy. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.